Making the headlines tonight. His Majesty the King of Cambodia, King Norodom Sihamoni, and Her Majesty the Queen Mother have returned to Phnom Penh after their health checkup in China. President Heng Samrin chaired a meeting of the National Assembly's Standing Committee to approve the draft law of the amendment of the Article 140. A video posted on social media shows Ukraine forces shooting and killing a captured Russian soldier. Buenos Aires police arrested more than 250 soccer fans outside River Plate's Monumental Stadium on Sunday the 10th of April. And traders and citizens in Cambodia are busy selling and shopping for gifts and home decor to prepare for the Angels of the traditional Khmer New Year. This is the Daily Roundup on EAC News Channel. A very good evening to you. I'm Anthony Ellis. His Majesty the King of Cambodia, King Norodom Sihamoni, and Her Majesty the Queen Mother of Cambodia have returned to Phnom Penh on Tuesday evening, the 12th of April 2022, after their health checkup in China. EAC News reporter Srepo Kong has the story.
The plane landed at Phnom Penh International Airport at 4:15 p.m. this afternoon. Those who greeted the king at the airport were Senate President Samdech Vibol Sena Saichum, National Assembly President Samdech Punya Chakrai Heng Samrin, Prime Minister Hun Sen, Minister of the Interior Samdech Krola Hau Sao Kheng, Minister of National Defense Samdech Jai Sena Tiep Bany, and other senior government officials. The King and Queen Mother left for their visit to China on 4th of March 2022. The King and Queen Mother usually go to China for their regular health checkup twice a year. Sripokong EAC News.
The National Assembly President Heng Samrin chaired a meeting of the National Assembly's Standing Committee to approve the draft law on the amendment of the Article 140 of the Law on the Capital, Province, Municipality, District and Commune Administration. EAC News reporter Srepo Kong has more details.
During the meeting held on Tuesday morning, the National Assembly received the request of the royal government to review and study the draft law on the amendment of Article 140 of the Law on Capital, Provincial, and Municipal District and Commune Administration, which was promulgated on 24 May 2008. The draft law to increase the board of governor of a municipality, district, commune, provinces, and municipality was approved by the Council of Ministers on the morning of 1st April 2022 under the chairmanship of the Prime Minister Hun Sen. The amendment aimed to increase the number of mayor, district, and commune governor from 5 to 7 in total, the number of provincial governor from 7 to 11 in total, and the number of capital governor increased to a total of 11. At Tuesday morning meeting, the National Assembly also received a draft law on district food safety which is to be reviewed and studied. In his closing remark at the dissemination and implementation of the National Program for Sub-National Democratic Development Phase 2, 2021 and 2030 ceremony held on 21st March 2022, Prime Minister Hun Sen stated that the development of human resources in the sub-national administration is an important task, and the government has shifted more function to the sub-national level, which has contributed to Cambodia being able to more effectively mitigate various risks. He said, while the local level has responsibility, we saw that the local level is lacking in strength, so we need to amend the law limited the number of people responsible in the framework of provincial and district governors. At present, in the 25 capital and provinces of Cambodia, there are a total of 175 governors, with 7 governors at each provincial capital, while in 204 municipalities, there are 1,020 governors, with 5 governors at each municipality. Sripokong EAC News.
The Republic of India handed over 325,000 doses of COVID-19 vaccines to Cambodia on Tuesday morning. At the handover ceremony, the Indian ambassador to Cambodia praised Prime Minister Hun Sen and said that he deserves to be commended for vaccinating his people as soon as possible. EAC News reporter Dashana Guchin has the further details.
The AstraZeneca COVID-19 vaccine handover ceremony took place at the Peace Palace in Phnom Penh and was presided over by Prime Minister Hun Sen and the Indian ambassador to Cambodia, Devyani Khobragade. Ambassador Khobragade said that this donation of 325,000 vaccine doses to Cambodia is part of India's own Goodwill Initiative, as well as the Quadrilateral Vaccine Initiative between India, the United States, Australia, and Japan to send 1 billion COVID-19 vaccines to countries across Asia, which includes providing support to Cambodia as well. She said, Cambodians are beginning to gather without restrictions on population, and economic activity is starting to reopen. We thank the leadership of Prime Minister Hun Sen, who has worked tirelessly to lead the Ministry of Health to manage the COVID-19 pandemic in Cambodia. The royal government of Cambodia, led by Prime Minister Hun Sen, deserves to be commended for vaccinating its people at the fastest rate ever. Prime Minister Hun Sen thanked India and the countries in the Quadrilateral Vaccine Initiative for providing a series of vaccine donations to Cambodia. He said that Cambodia considers vaccination a key strategy to building a strong community immune system against COVID-19, a method which has been effective in curbing the spread of Omicron variant in Cambodia. He said, "We must not forget that many countries are still affected by the COVID-19 pandemic and have not yet been able to fully recover their socioeconomic status. Prolonged outbreaks are a risk for all of us, one that could lead to a recurrence of COVID-19 as well as a fall into a socioeconomic crisis. In this spirit, Cambodia encourages the promotion and acceleration of vaccinations and building community resilience, which is an appropriate and effective response." He added that India has been a partner and a strong friend of Cambodia since 1981. After the fall of the Khmer Rouge, India has been helping Cambodia recover socioeconomically until now. The Quadrilateral Vaccine Initiative was an agreement made between the Quad Group countries, which includes India, Australia, Japan, and the United States. Collectively, the Quad have already provided nearly 5 million vaccines to Cambodia. Cambodia spent 8 months vaccinating its population, helping to create a social resilience system that allowed for the official reopening of the country on 1 November 2021. As of Monday, 11 April 2022, Cambodia has vaccinated 92.79% of its 16 million population. The vaccines administered in Cambodia are Sinopharm, Sinovac, AstraZeneca, Janssen, Moderna, and Pfizer. Darshana Gauchan, EAC News.
Prime Minister Hun Sen has instructed the relevant ministries, institutions and local authorities to increase awareness among students, youth, parents, guardians and the private sector of the importance of technical and vocational education and training, to promote the development of skilled and efficient workforce and to meet the needs of the labour market, both domestic and foreign. EAC News reporter Deccan Nin has more.
In a circular released on 7th of April 2022, Prime Minister Hun Sen instructed the Ministry of Labour to produce video and other documents for awareness raising and circulation, other relevant ministries and institutions to participate in the widespread dissemination of this content throughout the country. The Phnom Penh Capital Administration to cooperate in disseminating and putting up banners in public places, and each provincial administration to organize the 5th National Technical and Vocational Education and Training Day 2022 with the participation of all stakeholders. He especially encourages the participation of the private sector, companies, factories, enterprises, and institutions in commemorating this day. The royal government of Cambodia has designated the 15th of June every year as the National Day of Technical and Vocational Education and Training in order to promote TVET and disseminate information about its benefit to the public. Banners and slogans that the Prime Minister ordered are to be placed in public places all around the country, with messages sharing the advantages of TVET, how it helps with decent work and high income, provides real-life skills, acts as a pillar of social protection, and provides access to decent careers. Also to be widely disseminated is information on how women and people of all ethnicities are encouraged to partake in TVET. The 5th National Technical and Vocational Education and Training Day 2022 will be held under the theme TVET Increases Productivity and High Competitiveness. Deccan Nin, EAC News.
The Minister of Economy and Finance, Deputy Prime Minister Onn Ponmarirut, has stated optimism for the launch of Modukuri Tourism Development Master Plan 2021 to 2035, which he says he will help pave the way for the province's investment and development at an unprecedented level. EAC News reporter Saipor Kong has the details.
Speaking via video conference at the program to promote and officially implement the Master Plan for Tourism Development in Mandaluyong 2021-2035 on Monday morning, Deputy Prime Minister Onporn Manirot said that the launch of the Master Plan will pave the way to attract investment and development to an unprecedented level. He added that he expects the flow of investment and development to be balanced with the preservation of the province's original identity, which is recognized as a province of natural tourism and sacred indigenous culture. He further continued that the Mandaluyong Tourism Development Master Plan 2021-2035 will join other strategy documents for the development of tourism in other frameworks that have been launched in the past to promote sustainable recovery and promote non-discriminatory participation within the sector. The master plan is designed to include the rich tourism potential of Mandaluyong in the diversification of Cambodia tourism, especially co-tourism, natural tourism, cultural tourism, and indigenous cultural tourism. In addition, the identification of key priority areas of tourism development in the master plan will enable Mandaluyong to effectively utilize this potential through conservation of ecotourism and indigenous culture, as well as to link with other sectors, such as agriculture for the development of flowers, vegetables, fruits, and agro-industrial farm products like coffee. The Deputy Prime Minister emphasized that the success of the implementation of this plan depends on the participation, close cooperation, and responsibility of all stakeholders, especially the partnership between the state, private sector, the citizen, and the involvement of the relevant development partners. It should be noted that the launch of the Mandaluyong Tourism Development Master Plan 2021-2035 will be linked to the other tourism destinations such as Phnom Penh, Siem Reap, and Sihanouk Ville, and Mandaluyong is expected to be the fourth economic hub in Cambodia. Sripokong, EAC News.
The Minister of Economy and Finance, Deputy Prime Minister Onporn Manirot, delivered a speech on the online global event on the financing of net zero carbon in emerging markets. On Monday, in his speech, he touched upon the crucial needs for countries around the world to take on concentrated action to address climate change and channel investment flows of support, sustainable development, energy transmission, and achieving a net zero carbon emissions in emerging markets. EAC News reporter Dashana Guchin has the story.
Mr. Donald Karnak, Chairman of
The Minister of Economy and Finance, Deputy Prime Minister Onporn Manirot, elaborated on some of the challenges Cambodia is facing as a developing country with limited fiscal space and resources, especially in light of the COVID-19 pandemic, to effectively implement sustainable development policy measures. With the pandemic causing significant setbacks and even reversing hard-earned progress towards the Sustainable Development Goals, the Deputy Prime Minister said that achieving decarbonization of economic development would be particularly challenging for low-income and developing economies. Hence, he urged for deeper collaboration between emerging and developed economies, which can cover extensive areas such as technology transfer in reduction of industrial carbon emission, reforestation initiative, and EV adoption. The main three challenges the Deputy Prime Minister highlighted were adopting development models that can accommodate different priorities, a financing shortfall, and other labor market challenges. Nevertheless, he said that strengthening resilience for development is a key priority for the royal government of Cambodia, particularly under Pillar 3 of the National Strategic Framework on Economic Recovery in the context of living with COVID-19 in a new normal 2021-2023, which includes the adoption of digital transformation, climate change adaptation, and prioritization of green and sustainable development aligned with the SDGs. Finally, the Deputy Prime Minister informed the panel that Cambodia, as the 2022 ASEAN Chair, is committed to promoting efforts to expedite the equitable, resilient, and sustainable post-COVID-19 recovery, as reflected under the broad theme of ASEAN ACT, Addressing Challenges Together, which includes a commitment to promoting green development and attracting green investments in the region. Darshana Gochan, EAC News.
upcoming months of this year.
Cambodia has reported 17 new COVID-19 cases, none of which are imported. There have been 27 patient recoveries and no new deaths. The Kingdom has now recorded 15,539 cases of Omicron, 1,353 imported, and 14,186 cases. Cambodia COVID-19 case tally is now climbed up to 135,980, and the death toll stands at 3,055. The number of patients treated successfully since the pandemic reached Cambodia is 132,666, and the tally for imported cases remains at 21,210. Healthcare workers are currently treating a total of 183 patients. Now for a look at the news making international headlines Tuesday, 12th of April.
The United Nations is increasingly hearing accounts of rape and sexual violence in Ukraine, a senior UN official told the Security Council on Monday, April 11th, as a Ukrainian human rights group accused Russian troops of using rape as a weapon of war. Katerina Cherepaka, president of La Strada, Ukraine, said her organization's emergency hotlines had received calls accusing Russian soldiers of 9 cases of rape involving 12 women and girls. Russia has repeatedly denied attacking civilians since its invasion of Ukraine began on February 24th. The United Nations said last week that UN human rights monitors were seeking to verify allegations of sexual violence by Russian forces, including gang rape and rapes in front of children, and claims Ukrainian forces and civil defense militia had also committed sexual violence. Ukraine's UN mission did not immediately respond to a request for comment on allegations against Ukrainian forces. Russia's deputy UN ambassador Dmitry Polyansky told the Security Council on Monday, accusing Ukraine and allies of a clear intention to present Russian soldiers as sadists and rapists. UN Women Executive Director Sima Bahous said that all allegations must be independently investigated to ensure justice and accountability. Ukraine's UN Ambassador Sergei Kislitsia told the Security Council that the Prosecutor General's Office of Ukraine was launching a special mechanism of documentation of cases of sexual violence by Russian soldiers against Ukrainian women. Meanwhile, Deputy Prime Minister Irina Vereshchuk seeks to secure the release of every single prisoner of war being held in Russia. Out of some 1,700 soldiers and civilians, she says are currently being held by Russia and pro-Russian separatists, it is the women. Out of some 1,700 soldiers and civilians, she says are currently being held by Russia and pro-Russian separatists, it is the 500 women and their treatment which troubles her most. They force them to stand, don't let them sit down. They shave their heads. They force them to undress every day for checkup. They humiliate their human dignity. I know facts of rape. I saw spines that have been beaten, she said, pausing as her eyes filled with tears. Moscow says it is providing Ukrainian prisoners of war with everything necessary and highly qualified medical care in accordance with international law. In turn, Russia accuses Ukraine of torturing its prisoners of war, an allegation rejected by Kyiv, which also says it upholds international agreements. Comfortable in her army fatigues, Vereshchuk says her top priority is to secure the release of not only Ukrainian soldiers, but also of hundreds of civilians, including priests, journalists, and activists, who she says are being held in cells alongside criminals. But this poses difficulties. Moscow will only exchange like for like, but Kyiv says it holds no Russian civilians.
The latest chapter in Hollywood star Johnny Depp's legal battle with his ex Amber Heard kicks off on Monday 11th of April as the US defamation trial begins of allegations Heard made about domestic abuse. Depp, 58, has sued Heard for $50 million, saying she defamed him when she panned a 2018 opinion piece in the Washington Post about being a survivor of domestic abuse. She countersued him with her own liberal claim of $100 million for smearing her reputation by calling her a liar. The opt never mentioned Depp by name, but Depp's lawyers have said it was clear Heard was referencing him and that the piece damaged his film career and reputation. Depp has denied all allegations of abuse, saying in his lawsuit that Heard's claims were elaborate hoax to generate positive publicity for Miss Heard and advance her career. Juror selection of the expected to begin Monday in the case. Depp wants the Fairfax County jury to find that Heard knowingly made false claims. Heard, for her part, will argue that she is shielded or immune from liability because of a 2018 on domestic violence dealt with matter of public concern. I never named him. Rather, I wrote about the Pierce woman prey for speaking out against men in power. I continue to pay the price, but hopefully when this case concludes, I can move on and so can Johnny, Heard said in a statement released on Saturday. The US trial comes less than 2 years after Depp lost his libel case against The Sun, a British tabloid that labelled him as a wife-beater. A London High Court judge ruled he had repeatedly assaulted Heard and put her fear for her life. The United States is a difficult forum for libel plaintiffs, especially public figures like Depp, who faces several hurdles in the Virginia case. Depp must prove by clear and convincing evidence that Heard knowingly made false claims. Under English defamation law, The person being sued has the burden of proving their claims were true. Depp and Heard met while making the Rum Diary in 2011 and married 4 years later. Heard accused Depp of domestic abuse after filming for a divorce in 2016.
The more we disable IEDs, the more some of my pain goes away, said Asma Khalil, whose brother, an officer in the Iraq Army, was killed by a war remnant. Working with the Swiss Foundation for Mine Action FST to clear minefield that each year caused death in Iraq have helped her start coping with the grief caused by her brother passing away, Khalil said. During the past year, about 52 people were killed by war remnants, a statement by Iraq Ministry of Environment read last month. According to UNICEF and UMS, 519 children have been killed or maimed in Iraq due to the explosive ordnance over the last 5 years. Since 2019, Khalil has worked with the FST in northern Iraq, where improvised minefield led by Islamic State not only cause potential lethal accident but also prevent local farmers from cultivating their land. According to Peter Smetter, the FST Iraq country director, survey best estimate across the mine action community in 2018 evaluated the number of improvised IEDs planted by ISIS in northern Iraq to about 500,000. He said that all actors involved in mine action managed to clear roughly 50,000 to 60,000 IEDs per year since 2018, most of the landmines. Khalil now leads a team of 5 women who meticulously clear one patch of land at a time. But according to Khalil, working as a woman in the field of mine action remains difficult in Iraq. Our society does not accept that women work in a field that is somehow of military nature. Our field is similar to that one of the military. We follow military rules, she said, adding that mentalities were however starting to change. Since I started clearing mine, I grew stronger, Khalil told Reuters. I started to feel that there is no difference between us and them.
Dozens of supporters celebrated with fireworks, dancing and sweets as Shehbaz Sharif is sworn in as the new Prime Minister of Pakistan on Monday 11th of April, taking over from the ousted Premier Imran Khan.
In the city of Rawalpindi near the capital Islamabad, local activists from Sharif's Pakistan Muslim League Nawaz praised Sharif for saying he would hold an inquiry into an alleged threat from the United States towards Khan's government and said he would lead Pakistan to progress. Earlier in the day, Sharif won the support of 174 legislators out of the 342-member House in a parliamentary vote to elect a replacement for Khan. More than 100 lawmakers loyal to Khan resigned on Monday, creating a headache for the new Western-friendly incumbent Sharif as he tries to drag his country out of political and economic crisis. The incumbent Imran Khan, 69, lost a no-confidence vote in parliament after nearly 4 years in power. Khan had antagonized the United States throughout his tenure, welcoming the Taliban takeover of Afghanistan last year, and more recently accusing the United States of being behind the attempt to oust him. Washington has dismissed the accusation. Parliament's election of Sharif, who's 70 years old, as prime minister followed a week-long constitutional crisis that reached a climax with Sunday's vote. Sharif, the 23rd prime minister of Pakistan and younger brother of former PM Nawaz Sharif, will now form a new government that can remain in place until August 2023, when general elections are due.
A video posted on social media has resurfaced and verified geolocated to the area of west of Kiev appears to show Ukrainian forces shooting and killing and captured a badly wounded Russian soldier. 3 rounds were fired by an off-camera individual into the soldier. He was wearing one white armband used by Russian forces. He is bleeding heavily, lying on the road beside a dead soldier and appears to be breathing with difficulty. Look, he's still alive. He's still wheezing already. It's finished, says a voice, before 2 rounds are fired. A third is fired after the soldier continues moving. The video then pans to other 2 soldiers in the road who have white armbands. One of them has his hands tied behind his back and have been shot in the head. A Russian armoured vehicle has been abandoned nearby. We could not establish the exact date of the video, which was first reported by the New York Times. Ukraine Union News Agency published footage of the shooting aftermath on March 30th. The apparent Ukrainian forces in the video are Russian-speaking. At least one had a Caucasian accent and others had accents typical of places in southern Russia or parts of eastern Ukraine. Some of them shouted, glory to Ukraine. At least one wore a blue arm used by Ukrainian army, but their affiliation was not clear. One of them had a Ukraine flag patch on his arm, but it was upside down. Reuters geological the video of the north of the village of Dmytra, not far from the town of Bucha, northwest of Kyiv, where Ukraine have accused Russia of war crimes. Moscow has said the footage of dead bodies in Bucha was staged. Russia said last week that it would sharply scale back military activity around Kyiv and northern city of Chernihiv and Ukraine recaptured towns and villages. Ukraine Foreign Minister Dmytro Kuleba said he has not seen the video but had heard about it. I want to reassure you that Ukrainian army observes the rules of warfare. Of course, there might be isolated incidents of the violation of these rules, and they will be definitely investigated, he said.
To impress and to shock.
Russia will not stop its military operation in Ukraine for subsequent rounds of peace talks. Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov said on Monday, 11th of April.
Russian officials say peace talks with Ukraine are not progressing as rapidly as they would like, and have accused the West of trying to derail negotiations by raising war crime allegations against Russian troops in Ukraine, which Moscow denies. Speaking in an interview with Russian state television, Lavrov said he saw no reason not to continue talk with Ukraine, but insisted Moscow would not halt its military operation when the sides convene again. Lavrov said that President Vladimir Putin had ordered to suspend military action during the first round of talks between Russian and Ukrainian negotiators in late February, but that Moscow's position had changed since. After we became convinced that the Ukrainians were not planning to reciprocate, a decision was made that during the next round of talks, there would be no pause in military action so long as a final agreement is not reached. Our special military operation is aimed at bringing an end to the reckless expansion and to the reckless striving for domination of the United States and the other Western countries under their influence on the global stage. During the first round of talks, President Vladimir Putin ordered to suspend military action and the special military operation. After we became convinced that the Ukrainians were not planning to reciprocate, a decision was made that during the next round of talks, there would be no pause in military action so long as a final agreement is not reached and signed, Lavrov said. Russia sent tens of thousands of troops into Ukraine on February 24 in what it called a special operation to degrade its southern neighbor military capability and root out people it called dangerous nationalists. Ukrainian forces have mounted stiff resistance and the West has imposed sweeping sanctions on Russia in an effort to force it to withdraw its forces. Lavrov last week accused Kyiv of presenting Moscow with an unacceptable draft peace deal that deviated from agreement that sides had previously reached. Kyiv dismissed Lavrov's comment at the time as a tactic to undermine Ukraine or defend intention from war crime accusation against Russian troops.
After the break, a look at all the latest sports news.
If it's happening and you need to know about it, you'll get it all right here. EAC News brings you updates and breaking news in English across all of our platforms and channels. The EAC News app, YouTube, Facebook, Telegram, Twitter, and our website www.eacnews.asia. Join me and the rest of the EAC News team every day on your favorite channels. EAC News, Cambodia made clear.
Formula One driver Yuki Tsunoda came up to support fellow Japanese athlete and world number one surfer Kanoa Ilagashi on the opening day of the Rip Curl Pros Bells Beach competition on Monday, April 11th.
I got super, impressed.
After a 15th place finish in the Australian Grand Prix, AlphaTauri driver Tsunoda watched on as Igarashi made it through to the round of 32 in the fourth competition of the 2022 World Surf League Championship held at Victoria's Bells Beach. The Japanese surfer also spent time surfing with F1 Haas driver Mick Schumacher on Friday, 9th of April, along with fellow surfers Isabella Nichols and Conor O'Leary. Igarashi scored 16.24 in a 3 to 5 foot 1 to 1.5 meter waves in his opening round heat at Bells Beach, while world number 2 and 11-time champion Kelly Slater scored 12.04 to come second in his heat but still make it through to the round of 32. The surfers were returning to the water at Bells for the first time since 2019 when John Florence won this competition. Florence came second in his opening heat, scoring 13.37, while Olympic champion Italo Ferreira scored 12.83 to win his heat.
Buenos Aires police arrested more than 250 soccer fans outside River Plate's Memorial Stadium on Sunday the 10th of April. The fans were arrested for carrying knives, drugs and phosphorescent flares as they tried to enter River Plate's Antonio Vesco Liberty Memorial Stadium to witness the cup match against Argentinos Juniors. Footage of Buenos Aires police showed the detained fans laying on the ground outside the stadium and being taken into police vehicles. According to local media, a few days earlier, the majority have been detailed. Soccer fans have been added to Argentina's database of the Tribuna Ciudadana program that aims to make soccer matches in South America countries safer. Gresini Racing Enner Bastiani claimed his second MotoGP win the season of the Grand Prix of the Americans on Sunday, 10th of April, to move to the top of the championship, while the returning Marc Marquez stormed back to finish the sixth after dropping last place.
Bastianini, 24, breezed past longtime race leader and fellow Ducati rider Jack Miller with 5 laps remaining at the Circuit of the Americas to add victory on the Texas track to his maiden triumph at the season opener in Qatar. Miller claimed his first podium of the year with a third-place finish after Suzuki rider Alex Rins, who won in Austin 3 years ago, battled through to the second on the final lap. Marquez, who had previously won 7 times in 8 visits to Texas, had missed the last 2 races after being diagnosed with double vision following a crash in Indonesia in February. Rins' teammate Joan Mir took 4th, while pole sitter Jorge Martin, who led a Ducati quintet in qualifying, lost out to Miller at turn 1 and the 2 traded places, but the Spaniard faded later in the race and had to settle for 8th. In Moto2, VDS Racing's Italian rider Tony Arbolino claimed victory ahead of Japan's Ai Ogura for a first win of the season, while KTM Ajo's Jaume Masia bagged a first victory since Qatar 2021 in the Moto3 race. The MotoGP season resumes with a European leg starting at the Algarve Grand Prix in Portugal on April 24th. Yeah, it's fantastic for me, for the guys of the team, for my friend, for everybody, Enea Bastianini said.
Now let's have a look at the weather and what you can expect for tomorrow. And finally, traders and citizens in Phnom Penh are busy selling and shopping mostly gifts for home decor to prepare for the Angels of the traditional Khmer New Year, which is set to begin on Thursday, the 14th of April. EAC News interviewed some people about the preparations they are making to upcoming celebrations.
The Khmer New Year is a 3-day national public holiday that Cambodians celebrate throughout the country. Every year, Khmer New Year usually falls on the 13th or 14th of April, coinciding with the traditional Solar New Year in several other countries like India, Bangladesh, Nepal, Sri Lanka, Myanmar, Laos, and Thailand. The first day of the New Year is called Maha Sangkran, the second day is Virat Vanabat, and the third day is Virat Langsa. Before the Khmer New Year, all Cambodians prepare by cleaning their houses and putting up decorations such as star lanterns, which are believed to bring good luck and fortune. Families will also prepare offerings of flowers and food to give to the monks while visiting pagoda. This year's Maha Sangkran, in the year of Khas Chatwasa, Buddhist era 2566, will take place on Thursday, on the 13th day of the lunar month, which is the 14th of April 2022, precisely at 10 a.m. The New Year goddess Karanai Devi, the fifth daughter of Kabul Mahaprum, adorned with green garlands covered in pearls, amulets, and emeralds, while mounted upon the back of an elephant, which is saw as her vehicle. This year, she will also be eating beans and sesame seeds, so those are the main offerings. In the markets in Phnom Penh, there are vendors selling star lanterns, bai say, banana leaf stem or green banana fitted with a stand and decorated with flowers, betel leaves, and areca nuts, as well as flowers decorations. This year's sesame seeds also being widely sold for the arrival of the New Year angel. A trader selling sesame seeds at Orasay Market in Phnom Penh, Tang Kim Mai, said that this year she was able to sell a lot more than last year. She said she has sold sesame seeds the most, but is also separately selling corn kernels, grains, and spices because people buy those items for cooking on New Year's Day. She said she has sold more than 100 kilograms of whole grains a day, including sesame seeds and beans. Regarding the pricing of these goods, she said she has not increased any prices compared to any normal day.
Customers come to buy a variety of grains, but the best-selling are green beans, which some Cambodians call rice beans. In other words, because the Khmer New Year is approaching, the demand for beans has increased more than usual because it has been said that the deity this year will eat beans and sesame seeds, so people need to buy sesame seeds for the New Year deity. In regard to pricing, the price of each item is different following the type of grain, but the price is the same as usual. There is no sign that when the festival is close, the pricing increases. In other words, I sell all my goods at the normal rate.
Another vendor selling star lanterns, Una V, observed that most customers came to buy her lanterns this year than last year as the government reopened the celebrations. She said that she sells many lanterns a day, with each lantern costing from 8,000 to 30,000 real, or roughly $2 to $7.5, depending on the style and size. She resells all the lanterns from the makers in Phnom Penh and said that all these lanterns were made in February to meet the needs of customers. She explained that people buy lanterns to decorate their houses because they think that lanterns with light will bring glory and good fortune to their families.
The number of lanterns I've sold cannot be fully counted because I have been selling a lot this year. 2 years ago, the country was closed. New Year celebration were not allowed. Until this year, now the country has reopened, so we can finally sell. We make this lantern in Phnom Penh ourselves. They have been made for a long time, since after the Chinese New Year. For this seal lantern, the price is 20,000 real, roughly $5. The price depends on if the lantern is small or big. Before we sold the plastic type, but now we sell seal lanterns. Customers buy lanterns and display them in front of their house to welcome the New Year angels, make their home shine bright and look more glorious.
Another vendor selling decorative materials, Hatnorin, said that this year, more customers came to buy items from his shop than usual. He sells items such as flower basket and pots, which are traditional Khmer items that people buy to put around their homes, businesses, and institutions as decorations, or to be able to play various traditional games.
In connection with the traditional Khmer New Year, the products that I sell include round and square baskets, and also angrut, cheneng, and tru, which are all Khmer products used for decorating during the New Year. For about 10 days, most of the customers we have had are from some kind of companies, factories or enterprises. They buy these items for decorating their workplace, and there are also features that they buy, such as pots and rope, so they can play traditional tug of war.
Meanwhile, shopping in Orosei Market is Keung Lang and her husband Tep Bot, who said that they bought flowers, star lanterns, gifts, and food to prepare for the upcoming Khmer New Year in their hometown of Oral District, Kampong Spu Province. Keung Lang said that this year she observed that more people came to shop than in the previous years due to the government's announcements that Khmer New Year celebrations were happening this year and that people could hold regular gatherings as long as they followed the set health rules.
We haven't celebrated Khmer New Year for about 2 years now, and this year there are so many people who are acting like they have never celebrated the New Year before, because they used to celebrate it every year, but since the COVID-19 outbreak, we haven't been able to have fun until the Prime Minister announced the reopening of Cambodia, so now we can have fun. But no matter where we go, it is important not to forget wearing face masks and regularly sanitizing our hands.
We are having fun as usual because there are not any problems. After not being able to celebrate for 2 years, when things reopened, were very happy like everyone else. For the Cambodian people, I see that they are ready to prepare celebrations for the new year. It looks like everyone is happy everywhere, as if they don't care anymore.
On the 7th of March 2022, Prime Minister Hun Sen confirmed that the Khmer New Year in 2022 would be celebrated as usual. He said that if we did not get vaccinated, then this year, maybe we would not have had the chance to celebrate the New Year. Not only would we not get to celebrate the New Year, but there would have been more death. But this year, during the New Year, we will celebrate. The 2022 Khmer New Year will take place from 14th to 16th of April.
Thank you for watching the Daily Roundup here on EAC News Channel. For more breaking news and updates, check our website eacnews.asia or search EAC News on Telegram, Smart TV or at your favourite app store. More from the EAC News team tomorrow at 8 p.m. We'll see you then.